Several districts to cancel classes, making the decision to close tomorrow again, too. Manny Abraham is going to explain why those decisions were made and how COVID-19 is a new factor that the schools have to take into consideration now. Manny.
Yes, Sarah, it's a decision that's not taken lightly, and the main concern here is the health of students. Parma, Willoughby, Eastlake, and South Euclid Lyndhurst schools joined the list of districts that closed their doors on Tuesday. Parma City School Superintendent Charles Smilik says their school buildings are very old, and some of them don't have AC units. They are concerned about students sitting in a classroom for a long period of time in excessive heat. He says it's not a productive learning environment, and they also had to factor in the COVID-19 guidelines that are still in place.
We have strongly encouraged students to wear masks and, to say out of one side of our mouth, please wear your mask, and to say out of another, please endure this 102 or 103 degree classroom. Just, it's not a tenable position for us to hold.
And of course, high heat is expected to continue. We're already seeing some schools closing their doors for tomorrow, including Mentor, West Geauga, and for a second day in a row, Willoughby, Eastlake. Of course, we're going to be updating that list, and you can find that at WKYC.com. Manny Abraham, 3 News.
Tough days to get started from these little ones. All right. Thanks, Manny.
And as this heat continues, we're getting a live look right now from Edgewater Beach, where it might be the best place to be on this Tuesday. Do whatever you can to stay cool. I noticed a surfboard there. I don't know how much luck he's having with big waves, but he's definitely cooling off. Right now, you'll notice that there is a QR code on your screen. If you pull up your cell phone's camera and hold it in front of that black and white picture, you'll be directed right to our WKYC app, where you can get the very latest weather forecast and, this seems odd, school closures. Yes, in August. Right now, let's bring in Matt Wentz. Matt, a very good afternoon to you. September's a week out, but it still feels like we are in the dead of summer.
Yeah, this is definitely going to stack up to be one of the hottest weeks of the year so far. It's not just the temperatures, Jay, it's the humidity. Once you factor those two together, you get what it actually feels like. And anyone that's been outdoors today for any extended period of time knows exactly what I'm talking about. So today, slam dunk in terms of the heat. We knew it was going to be a hot day. We had the sunshine area wide. You see temperatures still upper 80s, low 90s outside. You factor in the dew points, which are continuing to lay on thick in the 60s and 70s. That's that mugginess you feel. This is what it feels like to expose skin outside, generally mid-90s. It's been hot, even triple-digit heat out towards the west. But as we're going through time, we've got more heat to come, and we'll detail that, how long it lasts coming up. But I think Biden is speaking, so just kidding. I guess he's not. So, all right. We'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. We'll be checking in with you in just a little bit with our full forecast. Matt hinted on it. There he is. President Joe Biden is addressing the media right now at the White House on the ongoing evacuation crisis in Afghanistan. Let's listen in.
On the Build Back Better agenda here at home. I just got off the telephone with the leaders in the House. Today, the House of Representatives have taken significant step toward making a historic investment that's going to transform America, cut taxes for working families, and position the American economy for long-term growth. When I became president, it was clear that we had to confront an immediate economic crisis, the most significant recession we've had since the Depression, or at least since Johnson. But that wasn't going to be enough. We also had to make some long-term investments in Americans and America itself. The first thing we did was to write and pass the American Rescue Plan, and it's working. Our economy has added 4 million jobs in my first 6 months in office. Economic growth is up to the fastest it's been, the fastest rate in 40 years, and unemployment is coming down. Right now, our economic growth is leading the world's advanced economies. But to win the future, we need to take the next step. Today, the House of Representatives did just that. Today's vote in the House allowed them to consider my Build Back Better agenda, a broad framework to make housing more affordable, bring down the cost of prescription drugs by giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for drugs, make elder care more affordable, provide 2 years of free universal high-quality pre-K and 2 years of free community college, provide clean energy tax credits, continue to give the middle-class families the well-deserved tax cut for daycare and health care that they deserve, allowing a lot of women to get back to work primarily, and provide significant monthly tax cuts for working families with children through the child care tax credit. These investments are going to lower out-of-pocket expenses for families and not just give them a little more breathing room. In addition, we're going to make long overdue, much-needed investments in basic, hard infrastructure of this nation. This is an area where we have broad bipartisan agreement to invest in our antiquated roads, highways, bridges, transit, drinking water systems, broadband, clean energy, environmental cleanup, and making infrastructure more resilient to the climate crisis, and so much more. And this is all paid for. Instead of giving every break in the world to corporations and CEOs, by the way, 55 of our largest companies in America paid $0 in federal taxes on more than $40 billion in profit last year. We can ask corporations and the very wealthy just to pay their fair share. They can still be very wealthy, they can still make a lot of money, but just begin to pay their fair share. So we can invest in making our country stronger and more competitive, create jobs and raise wages, and lift up the standard of living for everyone. The bottom line is, in my view, we're a step closer to truly investing in the American people, positioning our economy for long-term growth, and building an America that outcompetes the rest of the world. My goal is to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not just the top down. And that's what we're on our way of doing. Look, I want to thank Speaker Pelosi, who was masterful in her leadership on this, and Leader Hoyer and Whip Clyburn and Chairman DeFazio, the entire House leadership team for the hard work, dedication, and determination to bring people together so we can make a difference in people's lives. I also want to thank every Democrat in the House who worked so hard over the past few weeks to reach an agreement and who supported the process for House consideration of the Jobs and Infrastructure Plan, the Build Back Better effort. There were differences, strong points of view. They're always welcome. What is important is that we came together to advance our agenda. I think everyone who did that, I think everyone who did it was there. Look, I also want to thank everyone who voted to support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. You know, it's an act to restore and expand voting protections, to prevent voter suppression, and to secure the most sacred of American rights, the right to vote freely, the right to vote fairly, and the right to have your vote counted. The House is active. The Senate also has to join them to send this important bill to my desk. And the Senate has to move forward on the People's Act, critical legislation to protect our democracy and the right to vote. We need both of those election bills. But let me now turn to Afghanistan. I've met this morning with my counterparts in the G7, as well as heads of the United Nations, NATO, and the European Union. I express my thanks for the solidarity we have seen as we've stood up an unprecedented global effort. I updated our partners on the significant progress we made in the past 10 days. As of this afternoon, we've helped evacuate 70,700 people just since August the 14th, 75,900 people since the end of July. Just in the past 12 hours, another 19 U.S. military flights, 18 C-17s and 1 C-130 carrying approximately 6,400 evacuees, and 31 coalition flights carrying 5,600 people have left Kabul just in the last 12 hours. A total of 50 more flights, 12,000 more people since I updated you this morning. These numbers are a testament to the efforts of our brave service women and men, to our diplomats on the ground in Kabul, and to our allies still standing with us. And we had a productive discussion. There was strong agreement among the leaders about the evacuation mission underway, as well as the need to coordinate our approach to Afghanistan as we move forward. First, on evacuation, we agreed that we will continue to our close cooperation to get people out as efficiently and safely as possible. We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. But The completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who were transporting out and no disruptions to our operations. In addition, I've asked the Pentagon and the State Department for contingency plans to adjust the timetable should that become necessary. I'm determined to ensure that we complete our mission, this mission. I'm also mindful of the increasing risks that I've been briefed on and the need to factor those risks in. They're real and significant challenges that we also have to take into consideration. The longer we stay, starting with the acute and growing risk of an attack by a terrorist group known as ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan, which is a sworn enemy of the Taliban as well. Every day we're on the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both U.S. and allied forces and innocent civilians. Additionally, thus far, the Taliban have been taking steps to work with us so we can get our people out. But it's a tenuous situation. We're already had some gunfighting break out. We run a serious risk of it breaking down as time goes on. Second, the G7 leaders and the leaders of the EU, NATO, and the UN all agreed that we will stand united in our approach to the Taliban. We agreed the legitimacy of any future government depends on the approach it now takes to uphold international obligations, including to prevent Afghanistan from being used as a base for terrorism. And we agreed that none of us are going to take the Taliban's word for it. We'll judge them by their actions, and we'll stay in close coordination on any steps that we take moving forward in response to the Taliban's behavior. At the same time, we renewed our humanitarian commitment to the Afghan people and supported a proposal by the Secretary General Guterres of the United Nations-led international response with unfettered humanitarian access in Afghanistan. Third, we talked about our mutual obligation to support refugees and evacuees currently fleeing Afghanistan. The United States will be a leader in these efforts, and we'll look to the international community and to our partners to do the same. We're already seeing our allies' commitment. They're bringing to their countries the Afghans who served alongside their forces as translators or in their embassies, just as we're bringing to the United States those Afghans who worked alongside our forces and diplomats. We're continuing that effort. We're conducting thorough security screening in the intermediate stops they're making for anyone who is not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Anyone arriving in the United States will have undergone a background check. And we must all work together to resettle thousands of Afghans who ultimately qualify for refugee status. The United States will do our part, and we are already working closely with refugee organizations to rebuild a system that was purposely destroyed by my predecessor. Finally, we agreed to stay vigilant against terrorist threats that have metastasized around the world. We went to Afghanistan with our allies in 2001 for clear reasons. One, to get the people who attacked us on 9/11 and to get Osama bin Laden, and to make sure that Afghanistan was not used again as a base from which to attack the United States or our allies. We achieved that objective. We delivered justice to bin Laden more than a decade ago. But the current environment looks very different than it did in 2001, and we have to meet the challenges we face today. We run effective counterterrorism operations around the world, where we know terrorism is more of a threat than it is today in Afghanistan, without any permanent military presence on the ground. And we can and will do the same thing in Afghanistan with our over-the-horizon counterterrorism capability. Cooperation with our closest partners on our enduring counterterrorism mission will continue to be an essential piece of our strategy. In short, we all of us agreed today that we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our closest partners to meet the current challenges we face in Afghanistan, just as we have for the past 20 years. We're acting in consultation and cooperation with our closest friends and fellow democracies. And I want to again thank all of our allies and partners around the world who have rallied in support of our shared mission. We ended the conversation today by a clear statement on all of our parts. We are going to stay united, locked at the hip in terms of what we have to do. We'll get that done. And tomorrow, I've asked Secretary Blinken to give you an update and a detailed report on exactly how many Americans are still in Afghanistan, how many have gone out, and what our projection is. So thank you again. May God bless you, and may God protect our diplomats and all those in harm's way. Thank you.
Can you guarantee every American will be...
All right, President Joe Biden first making comments about his budgetary blueprint clearing a hurdle today in getting passage. This allows for the budget now to go into the underwriting session. That's still going to take some time. In fact, probably as much as a month or longer before we get to that stage. Clearly, it is a hurdle that they've overcome. And also talking about the evacuation of Afghanistan. Over 70,000 have been evacuated since that process has begun. In the meantime, we turn now to coverage of our daily coronavirus case count. It is a high in the last 7 months, actually. Ohio reporting 4,117 new cases today, which is the highest single-day total since February the 4th. It's also a big jump of more than 1,300 cases from yesterday's number, which is rebounding off Sunday's actual tests. You can see by looking at this graph, our cases just continue to go in the wrong direction. Also, on the vaccine front, we do have better news to share, and this news comes following the FDA giving full approval to Pfizer's vaccine. That, of course, was reported yesterday. As of right now, Ohio is finally over that 50% vaccinated threshold. Here's the latest graph showing the counties and metrics. We are slowly moving in the right direction now on that front. Also, as of today, 60% of Ohioans ages 12 and older have at least started the vaccine process. That accounts for more than 6 million people.
Well, so much going on today. We will be back right after the break with Matt to check in on your forecast. All right, 5:20 now, and time to check in on that hot weather outside.
Yeah, that's the word of the day, Matt.
Yeah, we'll be able to fit that in for sure. It's certainly steamy outside, you guys. And this is going to continue tomorrow. Today, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, was a slam dunk in terms of the heat. Tomorrow's a little bit more questionable because we're going to start to interact with that boundary we've been talking about that's coming in from the north. But the dome of heat is thick. We are not alone in this, friends. It is all over the central and eastern half of the country. This is what we're watching tonight, though. No storms in the forecast tonight. We've watched a couple down to our south and west. But that cluster of storms, that is going to lay out a boundary that may fire more storms tomorrow. If we get storms tomorrow, we're not going to hit 90. We'll stay in the 80s. But the models not picking up on the storm chances. They're pretty bad at picking up at where these storms are. So tomorrow's heat indices, if we get full on sun for the beginning of the day through the middle half of the day, we're going to be up once again in the mid 90s. The hot heat potential is there tomorrow. National Design Mart hour by our forecast. Here comes that boundary off from those thunderstorms to the north, likely fading, but we could have some rain chances either tonight or tomorrow morning as that passes. This model, I tend to like it, shows a lot of clouds around tomorrow mixed with the sunshine. That would keep our temps down, and notice how that boundary refires more thunderstorms in the afternoon. It would keep our temps in the 80s. Again, if this sinks further down to the south, we get more sunshine. We're easily at 90 degrees again tomorrow. Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast. Let's put some numbers on it, shall we? Near 90 tomorrow. Again, storm chances will be near 90 again on Thursday. Those storm chances just continue all the way through Monday at this point. Finally quieting down with dry weather expected on Tuesday. We'll be back with more after this.
Welcome back to What's New. We go to Japan now, where the Tokyo Paralympics kicked off today. And just like the real Olympics, that wrapped up a few weeks ago. The national stadium was empty, without fans. That's because Tokyo remains under a state of emergency until at least September 12th due to a surge in COVID cases. In fact, a record 4,400 athletes from 161 countries and regions, as well as the refugee team, will be participating in the Paralympics this year. They will go through September 5th. And they're not airing on NBC, but they are airing on NBC Sports and other platforms on NBC. And I encourage you to watch because they are filled with the same human drama as the Olympics a couple of weeks ago.
Incredibly inspiring, too. And we're in the home stretch back at home before this year's Velosano, 17 days away now. Our Ride-a-thon series rolls on tomorrow, where weather permitting, I'll be joining you from my bike seat, anchoring live during a training ride for Team WKYC. We're going to be riding through Cleveland, sharing stories of how our Northeast Ohio community is coming together to end cancer. Velosano is expecting some 2,000 riders on Saturday, September 11th. All the action begins on Mall B as the first 100-mile riders are going to be leaving at 7 a.m. So tomorrow we will talk a little bit about that excitement and also how you can come and be along the route and support the riders just a few weeks away now.
Quickly give the pitch for if someone's watching right now and they want to help. They do what?
Well, go to our website, WKYC.com. You'll find our Velosano story. You can see you can certainly give to Team WKYC.
Right.
You could still register to ride or register as a virtual rider and kind of create your own challenge. There's so many ways you can help. And again, 100% of every dollar raised in Velosano goes towards cancer research right here.
Yeah, so key. Okay, coming up in the next half hour of What's New, travel and tourism. We know that COVID had a huge impact on that industry, but is Cleveland bouncing back? We have some numbers for you. We'll get them from Destination Cleveland's CEO.
Plus, only seeing a restaurant menu on your cell phone, well, that could be here to stay. What's new with the QR codes and why some businesses are really happy with the technology.
And a new extended stay hotel is coming to Public Square. We have a first look. That's coming up in Clicking in Cleveland. Stay with us. What's New is coming right back.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Well, let's get to three things to know happening now at 5:30. First, excessive heat across Northeast Ohio has forced several schools to cancel class. Today, Parma, Willoughby, Eastlake, and South Euclid Lyndhurst schools joined a list of districts that closed their doors. West Geauga local schools, along with Mentor and Willoughby Eastlake again, will all be closed tomorrow due to extreme heat. Matt Wintz has more on the weather coming up in just a bit. And remember, you can always download the WKYC app for the latest school closings and get those updates through our iAlert system.
President Biden saying a short while ago that he will not extend the August 31st deadline for completing the evacuation of Americans and Afghan allies from Afghanistan. More than 21,000 people have been airlifted out of Afghanistan in just the past 24 hours, with one plane departing the airport every 45 minutes. The Pentagon says that daily communications with Taliban commanders will have to continue as they aim for total withdrawal by the end of the month. And news on the vaccine front. This is interesting. Now students at The Ohio State University will have to be vaccinated. They will have to at least begin that procedure by October 15th. They must be fully vaccinated by November 15th. And we've talked about more and more of these mandatory mandates for the vaccination, particularly now that the FDA has granted full use authorization of the Pfizer vaccine. We'll have more on this information, of course, coming up at 6 o'clock on What Matters Most. And with that, we welcome you back to What's New, the second half hour, the 5:30 half hour. And one of the big stories that we've been talking about has been the oppressive heat outside. I don't know if you spent any time out there, but I was outside this morning for just a short period of time, and I was sweating instantly.
Same. I took Isla out for her swimming lesson this morning, and when we got home and got showered and everything, it was like, we're not going back out there because
it's so
we'll
sticky.
need to start this process over again. Well, our Matt Wintz is here, too, to talk about all this heat and break down what it means for us. Matt, it's August. We know that. But September's just a week away now. Is this typical or atypical?
This is typical. You know, we've been behind on 90-degree days. We average about 9. That's about the 20-year average around here. So far, we've had 6, and so we're there. We hit 91 today at Hopkins, still waiting on some of the other official numbers to come in. But, you know, it's late August, but the problem is, you know, the kids are in masks now. A lot of outdoor folks haven't been dealing with this heat. We mentioned yesterday we had one 90-degree day out of the last 47. So it's been a little while since we've had this heat. You combine with the humidity, we've got some problems. So temperatures right now outside, generally upper 80s, low 90s. Again, official numbers set to come out here any minute now from the National Weather Service. Dew points sitting in the upper 60s, 70s. That's some humid air. That's that thick stuff. So you combine those two together, this is what it feels like. Generally low, even mid 90s. We've had upper 90s, even triple digits out towards the west. The core of this heat is west of us. Could be a lot worse, right? You see how we're on the eastern periphery of this? But they've had triple digit heat. Feels like 110, 115 at times from St. Louis down to areas of Mississippi. Even Chicago was hot today. But for us, yeah, we're on the periphery of that. And when you're on the periphery of these heat domes, as we know, you get these clusters of showers and storms. And boy, is that going to be a little doozy in our forecast tomorrow, because we've got a big cluster of storms heading through areas of southwestern lower Michigan over towards Wisconsin. It's this boundary that'll be pushing in here tonight that'll set the stage for the potential of some storms developing during the daytime tomorrow. If we get rain out of this tomorrow, which I kind of feel like we're going to see some storms fire up, temperatures are going to be hard-pressed to reach 90. These temperatures are highly dependent on cloud cover and the rainfall around. So this model not picking up on the rain. So if we don't get the big storms tomorrow, we see lots of sunshine. It'll feel more like the mid and upper 90s by afternoon once again. So a hot day in the forecast tomorrow, but that wrench, again, as I mentioned, is going to be that rainfall chance. And we'll talk more of that in the full forecast. So combining the dew point and the temperatures, we go through time. By noon tomorrow, feeling more like 94, says this model, 97 in the afternoon. It's that combination of the heat and humidity that is really producing those relentless conditions. And you can see as we go through time tomorrow, the hottest hours, as you guess, would be anytime between, about noon and the 6 and 7 o'clock hour. That's the big thing, guys, is that we are just not seeing the break in the evenings as well. So another hot day tomorrow, another hot day after that, and then eventually we'll talk some relief to the forecast as we get on into next week.
I was wondering today why it's called Dog Days of Summer. So I did a little research, and I was fascinated by this. So it goes from July 3rd to August 11th, and I always thought that it meant those are the hottest days of the summer. I found out today that it actually is the star Sirius is in the same line with the sun during that period. And Sirius is the brightest star in our solar system, I believe, and it makes up part of the Canine Major
How about this astrology?
You are right on it, absolutely.
Well, I was curious.
Canine
I did not.
Major, dog days.
Dog days.
Yes, that's
there you
it.
go.
That's where it came
and
from.
I had no idea, but I wanted to look it up today, and so now you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jay.
But we're past the dog days of summer.
Do you want to do weather too?
No way.
Okay.
No way.
All right.
But,
weather,
but Matt will
that's
tell you I
astronomy.
am a frustrated weather nerd.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by all that stuff.
Jay is. This temperature forecast tomorrow is really interesting because all the models, all your computer apps are saying low 90s. But if we get the rain in there, I'm telling you, we're not going to hit 90 tomorrow. And it's going to be a big bust for some of these schools, too, you know?
Yeah, because some have canceled.
Right.
Yeah.
Very tricky
already.
tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Well, it is no secret that the travel and tourism industry worldwide has been one of the hardest hit since the pandemic began, and it was no different here in Cleveland.
Yeah, hotel stays, leisure travel, and restaurant visits decreased substantially. That happened everywhere. However, Destination Cleveland says that downward trend has now started to swing upward, at least for right now. Take hotels, for instance. In the month of June for this year, hotel occupancy was at 58% in Cleveland, which is a 63% increase over June of last year. In July, hotel occupancy was actually up to 63% in Cleveland, and that's a 50% increase over July of 2020. So for perspective, in the 5 years pre-pandemic, occupancy in the city of Cleveland averaged just above 70% around this time. So we're not too far off from the way it used to be, but we're still lagging behind. Now, the Delta variant is already starting to have negative impact on the industry. Listen.
We're seeing just a handful of cancellations, but we're starting to see some. And some research is showing that travelers for the first time in months are thinking of putting off some of their travel. It's hard to say yet what kind of effect that's going to have over the next month, 2 months, 3 months.
Our good friend David Gilbert. Most data models show that the United States hospitality and tourism industry might not fully be back to the way it was pre-pandemic until 2024. Wow.
Well, next year on What's New, there is a new texting scam out there targeting your bank account. We'll tell you what to be on the lookout for.
Then Starbucks and PSL lovers rejoice. All things pumpkin are now back at the Coffee Giant. It begins today. We'll tell you what's new on the menu. That's next in Clicking in Cleveland.
All right, welcome back. It is Tech Tuesday here on What's New, and you may have noticed that you are now getting more unwanted text messages to your cell phone. I keep noticing
Yes,
this.
I have too. It's all part of a new scam. It's called smishing. Smishing.
I kind of like the word.
It's a cool word, but it's got a terrible meaning.
It's bad.
So here's what happens. Hackers try to trick you into clicking a link that's in that text message. The text messages come across like warnings with messages that you may be locked out of your bank account. The text may look legitimate, but once you click on the link, you've been had. Cyber thieves can then steal your data, your money, and your identity.
Everybody has cell phones, and companies are looking to become more accessible to people, and criminals and scammers are taking advantage of that fact.
Experts say if the message looks suspicious, do not click on it. Whatever you do, don't open it, just delete it. Instead, you can download your bank's app and you can give the bank permission to send you alerts directly to your phone through the app. So they'll come through the app, not a text message. And you know if it comes through your bank's app, it's legit. This is where I take 10 seconds because I know my mom watches every day. Mom, if you get a text message from someone you don't know, delete it.
Yeah.
Done. If it's that important, they'll find a way to get a hold of you.
I usually block the number too. I find that I get them in group messages a lot.
I do
and
too.
It's hard to go back in and even see where the message came from.
I know,
sometimes.
they're very confusing.
Very tricky.
Yeah.
So just delete. I mean,
Yeah.
it is amazing how many ways hackers are trying to get to us, but
Yep.
if it looks questionable, it probably is.
Yeah, good rule.
Scanning a QR code to access a restaurant menu, well, that is likely here to stay. The coronavirus ushered in the switch from tangible menus, but industry experts think the technology will be sticking around long after the pandemic ends. Restaurants have realized how valuable the touchless technology is for adjusting menu offerings, pricing, and for some even closing out your bill all from your phone. All right, 5:42 now, and Matt has been keeping us updated on this heat that's going to come through. Because I'm planning on biking tomorrow, Matt, I want to know about these storms.
I know. I've been thinking about you all week in terms of the storm chances and the heat. And unfortunately,
That's a good friend right there.
Yeah, I know. I'm here for you, Sarah. You know that. Excited to see you tomorrow. Out biking the city streets of Cleveland for a good cause, obviously, in preparation for that. So we'll talk storm chances tomorrow. First, your outdoor dining forecast tonight looking A-OK. Free ice cubes. That's the good news. We'll be in the 80s. City or 90 degrees, certainly a steamy evening. High temperatures are in. Just put this graphic together. These are the official numbers today. Mansfield 92, 91, Akron and Cleveland, New Philly and Ashtabula up in the upper 80s today to near 90 degrees. That's the air temperature, right? Factor in the humidity, feeling a lot warmer than that. We're still very mild outside, upper 80s, low 90s. Temps aren't going to cool a lot this evening. We'll fall back into the 70s eventually, likely as we get beyond the 11 o'clock hour. Reason why we've got a lot of humidity outside. When you have that humidity, it takes a while to heat that air up. It takes a while to cool it down as well. It tends to hold a lot of that heat. So still feeling like the mid 90s for most of us, hottest out towards the west. That's where the core of the heat is in the central plain states. This is expansive. You get large domes of heat. It is hard to remove this. The only way you can do that is with shower and thunderstorm chances that roam that northern periphery. And you know what? We actually have some. We were talking about yesterday how this dome of heat, we'd be on the periphery of it. That's where the showers and storms are. Models have had a real bad time picking up on this cluster, but now they're starting to. That's the good news. This is a wall of rain here heading into areas of Chicago, northern suburbs, back towards western Illinois. This will move in tonight. It'll likely fade. We may have some leftover rain with this as it moves in, probably 4, 5, 6 o'clock towards daybreak tomorrow. But the more important thing with this is that it's going to lay down a boundary of air that's pushing out that will likely trigger more storms tomorrow sometime during the day. So that's what we're going to watch as we head through the overnight. Matt Standridge in tonight at 11. He will have the latest on what that morning looks like. Hot Wednesday, though. If we don't get the rain, we're up into the mid-upper 90s for feels like temperatures again. I think we have a chance at hitting 90 degrees for a high again. National Design Hour by our forecast. I think this has a pretty good handle on this. I've scoured the models. None of them have a clue in terms of this weather setup. Except for this one. I kind of like it. It brings in some rain tonight. That fades, though, as it's away from its main source of instability. We're in the 70s. It's muggy tomorrow morning. Notice the clouds that are left over. Not like today where we start with sunshine, right? So we have clouds to contend with tomorrow. That boundary will be laying over, so we'll likely pop more storms somewhere in northeast Ohio. But that would keep our temps from hitting 90 tomorrow. Feeling, I don't want to say confident as a meteorologist, but there's a good chance that the clouds will be around tomorrow with the rainfall chances. Big picture look, that boundary sets up shop. If you've joined me over the last couple nights, we've been talking about this. More storm chances, no rhyme or reason where they develop. That goes all the way through the weekend. We've got a pretty good train track set right up over us, and you can see the rainfall chances are there with those storms as we go throughout the weekend as well. Muggy meter stays thick until next Tuesday. That's when we're going to break this heat. So we've got another week of this. Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast. You can see we're in the 80s to near 90 degrees, all dependent on when we get the rain over the next 5 days. Monday will be our clearing cold front with storms likely on Monday. That will clear us out for Tuesday, setting the stage for a nice quiet week for when Betsy returns. Jay?
You know, this has happened twice in a row now.
Yep,
with
same pattern. Love it.
Yeah, okay. Next on What's New, could Jake Paul's fight versus Tyron Woodley end with an engagement to girlfriend Julia Rose? We have details on that. That's next in Clicking in Cleveland. Then a different kind of service. How some crew members with the illuminating company are working to make sure a local eagle's nest stays safe.
This is what's clicking in Cleveland. We are going to eat some pumpkin things. All right, now on your feet at 5, it is estimated that at least 10 to 20% of people who have had COVID have symptoms that linger for months. Maybe you know someone. But when it comes to kids, doctors say kids who often become long-haul patients have just had mild cases of the virus. Our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, brings us the story of a teen who'd been battling the after effects for months.
This is how 17-year-old Drew Coffey spent most of the last 6 months.
Can't think 100% straight. All I can do is sit in a chair, and my head's just going crazy. Sometimes vertigo, sometimes it's just headaches.
Back in January, he caught a mild case of COVID. Never imagined the symptoms would worsen and linger. He became a COVID long hauler.
Brain fog. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. Anxiety. Acid reflux.
He was one of the first pediatric long-haul cases at Rainbow's new clinic. About 20 kids are now seeking treatment for COVID symptoms that won't go away. Symptoms as varied as the patient's.
Fever, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle, body aches, headache, loss of taste, loss of smell, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, chest pain or pressure, confusion, inability to sleep or stay asleep. Goes on and on and on.
Drew finished his sophomore year of high school in the summer with the help of tutors. He was looking forward to getting back to the drums in the band, but he's not sure if he's ready for school yet. One thing did help.
After getting vaccinated, it helped me not feel so bad all the time. I also didn't know if getting COVID again would hurt me even more, so I was just wanted to protect myself.
His advice to kids heading back to school?
It's either you get the vaccine and feel bad for a couple of days or feel bad for a couple months.
Something to think about. Part of Drew's treatment was changing his diet. He stopped eating anything with preservatives, sugar, and is on a vitamin supplement regimen. He is improving, but his mom says not enough to go to school the first quarter. He'll be getting more tutors until his fatigue levels improve. And his docs are worried about cold and flu season because they say if he gets sick, it can actually pause his progress.
Wow.
The brain fog, all of those symptoms, I mean, that's just a lot to be dealing with. And you think even if you get over the easy case, that's what's so scary to me, you know?
Right. He had a very mild case. He got better. And then he said it was like a week or so later that the fatigue and everything else set in. Yeah. And it hasn't gone away.
Wow.
Tough to deal with. Okay, Monica, thanks.
Sure.
Well, right now it is time to see what's clicking in Cleveland. And for that, we bring in our digital anchor. Hi again, Monica, Stephanie Haney. So Stephanie, she was trying to do her best not to walk in front of your camera. So she stopped and then she backed in front of my camera. Thank you, Monica.
Happy to have her. Come on in. We'll do it together.
It happens.
All right. Today we have something very new for you. So new, it's not even here yet, actually. This is your first look at a high-design extended stay hotel coming to the May Building in downtown Cleveland's Public Square. These will be different-sized suites that can be booked for any length of time. Now, this is coming from Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert, and guests will be able to use all of the permanent residence amenities, including the rooftop and the fitness center. This should be open early next year. Now, while talking with Jake Paul on my 3 Things to Know podcast this week, I had to ask if he secretly got married to Julia Rose after she added his last name, Paul, to her Instagram username. Here's what Jake said.
We are not married, but I see that coming for sure. I got her a nice promise ring, / pre-engagement ring. I plan on proposing, sometime soon, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're in love. It's pretty dope.
He looks like he's in love, and these two have been teasing this engagement for over a month now. So it sounds like maybe Jake Paul will bring another ring to the boxing ring on Sunday at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. You can hear our full interview on the podcast at WKYC.com/3 Things to Know. And if you're ready for fall, you are in luck. You can get your pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks. This is starting today. This is the earliest the company has rolled out its fall treats, which include pumpkin cream cheese muffins and pumpkin scones. Now, I do need to say, Dunkin' Donuts has been back at this for about 2 weeks, which is wild to me, Jay and Sara. So what I say is, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. So
Yeah.
I'm bringing treats today. We've got some pumpkin scones.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness.
May as well have that. We got a pumpkin spice latte.
Thanks. I know, Jay, you don't like coffee, but I had to get it iced today. Cheers, Stephanie.
I got a hot one so I could get a decaf shot in there that could mix it up because I'm secretly a 90-year-old woman. So that's what I do.
Well, cheers to fall, I guess.
Cheers
I
to
cannot
fall.
believe pumpkin spice
Wow.
is back already.
This does not make me feel any cooler, but I'm still going to embrace it.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. 5 years from now, pumpkin spice will never go away. It will be here year round.
Year round.
People love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why it's not
True.
here year
It's
round.
a favorite.
Yeah.
People stock up. I mean, they save.
I know they do.
The K-cups,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that you can only get. So.
Yep. I'm going to quote the intellectual Jake Paul. This is pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
From your lips to everybody's ears.
Okay.
True that. All right, well, next year on What's New, safety precautions for eagles. We'll show you how one electric company stepped up their game today to make it happen in a local city. It's ahead in Show Us Something Good.
Then on What Matters Most at 6, two cousins born on the same day welcomed their new bundles of joy with yet another incredible coincidence. You won't want to miss this story.
Because I'm Dayside Friday. Hey, how are you? Testing 1, 2. Good evening, and thanks for being with us. I'm Russ Mitchell.
Hey, good evening to you. Today's Show Us Something Good comes from Avon Lake.
Hello. I'm Manny Abraham here in Parma talking about school closures and high heat.
Today's Show Us Something Good comes from Avon Lake. You've probably heard us talking about the bald eagle's nest at Redwood Elementary School before. Well, today, the illuminating company installed a large wooden perch extension on top of a utility pole there to help keep the birds safe. Their nests are near power lines, and the electric company also insulated some of those lines to keep it extra safe just in case the eagles or eaglets come in contact with those wires. 3 bald eagles were just born in May, so it's really nice to have those new safety features and more to come. They have made an event out of this. You know, every time they have new eggs there. I mean, it's really fun to follow along and check in on the camera, see how they're doing.
And you know, normally the illuminating company is always getting grief. When's my power coming back on? When's my power? But the next time you see a truck and some of the employees, tell them thank you, whether they were the ones responsible for this or not. It's pretty cool.
Tough job.
We are out of time. What's New is back tomorrow at 5, and we certainly invite you to join us then.
And What Matters Most with Russ and Laura starts right now.
Now it's 6. It's hot.
It just becomes an environment that it's not productive.
Some schools forced to close, classes canceled. The hot weather, top of mind for everyone. We'll have live team coverage of what to expect over the next few days. Also, vaccination milestone. Ohio hit some new pandemic numbers today, even as more and more across the state are